Hey, welcome. Today we are diving deep into a tricky little cognitive bias that gets pretty much all of us. This tendency to believe we're way more skilled, knowledgeable, and in control than we actually are.
So, let me ask you a question, a really simple one. Just think about it for a second and be honest. When you're behind the wheel, compared to everybody else out there on the road, are you an above-average driver? Got your answer? Okay, hang on to that thought for a minute.
All right, here's the game plan. We're going to start with that driving question. Then we'll define exactly what this overconfidence trap is. After that, we'll look at its 3 different faces. Then we'll get into the real-world cost with a financial example, and finally, wrap it all up with how you can stay grounded.
Okay, so remember that question I just asked you about your driving skills? Let's unpack the little twist that's hiding inside of it.
So here's the fascinating part. When researchers go out and ask huge groups of people that exact same question, an overwhelming majority, we're talking like 80, sometimes even 90%, rate themselves as above average. Now, you don't need a calculator to see that something's not right here. It's just statistically impossible for almost everyone to be better than average. And this little paradox, it's the perfect doorway into our topic.
You know, this thing where we all think we're better than the pack, it's not just a funny little quirk of human nature. It actually has a name, the overconfidence trap, or, as it's more formally known, the overconfidence bias.
So what are we really talking about here? Well, the overconfidence bias is our built-in, natural tendency to think we're more capable than we really are. It means we overestimate how much we know about a subject, we overestimate how good we are at a certain task, and we really overestimate how much control we have over what happens next. It is, no joke, one of the most powerful and common biases we have.
And this is why it's a big deal. This bias isn't harmless fun. Believing we're right all the time leads us to make these wildly optimistic decisions. We assume that new project at work is a guaranteed win, or that an investment simply can't fail. And when we do that, we end up totally blind to the risks that are staring us right in the face.
Okay, so overconfidence sounds like one simple thing, right? Well, it's actually a bit more complicated. Think of it as showing up in 3 distinct flavors, all part of the same basic problem.
First up, you've got overestimation. This is when you believe your personal performance or your own abilities are just plain better than they objectively are. A classic example is an investor who is absolutely convinced they've got some special genius for picking stocks, when really their track record is no better than random luck. Next is overprecision. This is all about being too certain that your beliefs are 100% accurate. You see this when someone gives a super specific, super narrow prediction for something in the future. It's not just that they think they're right, they're convinced they are precisely right, down to the decimal point. And finally, there's overplacement. And this one, well, this takes us right back to that first question about driving. This is the explicit belief that you are better than other people. It's that gut feeling that, yeah, you're definitely in the top half of the group.
Look, this isn't just some theory in a textbook. This bias has very real and sometimes very, very expensive consequences. So let's jump into a real-world example where this bias can cost you big time.
If you want a perfect laboratory to see overconfidence in action, you don't have to look much further than the world of active stock trading. We're talking about folks who are constantly buying and selling, believing they're smart enough to outwit the entire market.
And here's the thing. These traders are so often driven by this incredibly powerful belief that they can time the market, that they have some unique skill to know exactly when to buy low and when to sell high. It's intoxicating to feel like you're the one who sees what no one else does, but the hard data tells a totally different story. The overwhelming evidence shows that most of these active traders actually underperform compared to someone who just buys a simple, diversified fund and holds onto it. That feeling of absolute certainty, it's literally costing them money.
Okay, so we've established this bias is powerful, and it can really trip us up. The million-dollar question is, what do we do about it? How do we fight back against our own brain and, keep our feet on solid ground?
The good news is there are a few really solid ways to fight back. First, and honestly this is the most important one, just be aware of it. Simply knowing that overconfidence bias is a real thing is a huge part of the battle. It lets you hit the pause button and ask, wait, am I being too sure about this? Step 2, seek out diverse opinions. Don't just build an echo chamber. Go find smart people who disagree with you and really, truly try to understand why. It's one of the best ways to find your own blind spots. And step 3, rely on data-driven approaches. When you're facing a big decision, try to step away from the gut feelings. Look at the hard numbers, the statistics, the actual evidence. Let the data, not just your confidence, be your guide.
So, as we wrap this up, I'm not going to give you a neat little summary. Instead, I'm going to leave you with a challenge.
Think for a second. What is one belief you hold with 100% absolute rock-solid certainty? Now just for a second ask yourself, could I be wrong? Could that certainty just be a classic case of over-precision? Just asking that question. That's the first and most important step to staying grounded. Thanks for tuning in.